has experienced over the past few decades. Well, now China is doing something different called a social credit system, and it's expected to be fully functional by the year 2020. What is it, and why are they doing it? To help us out, we are joined by conservative TV and radio host Steve Malzberg and RT correspondent and China expert Caleb Maupin. Gentlemen, welcome. We love covering China, and Caleb, you talk about it about every other day, and good on China for making such great economic progress. But one of the things we always question around here are the numbers. That's what I say. The numbers matter. They're important. In China, we actually question more about those numbers than other countries, just given the closed society. And like if the GDP numbers are correct, if it's based upon real data that we maybe can't see. So I suppose there are sort of growing pains in China opening up here, and I'll attribute the skepticism by some of these numbers to the growing pains. But at the same time, this new social credit system seems to be trying to fill a gap in numbers that do not exist at the current time, and that is things like credit scores for millions of Chinese who have no or very little such credit history. So the Chinese government is creating this new system. Steve, explain it to us. How does it actually work?
Well, okay, this is Orwellian in nature, and it's right out of a science fiction movie, and to me it's very scary. And it goes well beyond the financial credit scores. The way I see it, the numbers that are important are 1.5 billion people are going to be spied on, surveilled totally by the Chinese government with the help of 230 closed-circuit television cameras, facial recognition, artificial intelligence, algorithms, and basically it's to monitor and keep score and keep tally of good things they do and bad things they do. And based on the number of good and bad things, you get a trustworthiness score. And then, if you do too many bad things, you're put on one of a dozen blacklists. Yes, you get blacklisted, grouped together with other people who do the same or similar bad things that you do. And you could be punished. For instance, you might not be able to travel. You might lose your internet access. You might not be able to stay in a hotel, etc. So this, to me, is... it's not only Big Brother, it's gigantic brother, and I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like it. It's very, very dangerous. Plus, they're extending it beyond their own country, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, to infringe upon the sovereignty of foreign nations.
Right. Good explanation. Caleb, I mean, I can understand if people that don't have credit histories and the government wants to try to help out, although I assume that they can go to Alibaba, the big e-commerce site, and use some of their data. But is it a concern? I mean, do you think that they're going to the point where it's really more, social engineering, where they're trying to control and coerce the population, as opposed to just a real credit system as we know it, like in the U.S. or in the EU?
Well, Bart, I think it's pretty clear such a system would never be implemented in this country. Our legal system is very different than China's. So is our culture. So is our history. But it's pretty clear that President Xi is very popular in China, and a lot of people in China actually support this move. And the argument that they make is this. They say, look, everyone knows that American corporations hire people and fire people, demote people, promote people based on their values. They look for people that are promoting their values and put them forward, and if somebody's not promoting their values, they push them backward, or maybe they don't hire them, or maybe they get rid of them. That American corporations function in accordance with their values. Well, in China, the largest economic entity is the government. The government controls the banking sector. It controls a lot of the key industries like steel, cell phone manufacturing, and a lot of folks in China say, hey, why doesn't the Chinese Communist Party that leads the government have the ability to reward people? If people go and visit their grandparents, if people choose not to drink too much alcohol, why don't they have the right to then reward those folks? And on top of that, with the Chinese Communist Party leading the economy, if someone is working against the Chinese Communist Party and trying to derail them and trying to hurt them in the process of carrying out their goals, why should the party be obligated to subsidize them? Why should they be, working to help out individuals who work against them? That's that's kind of the way they see it, is, you know, the Communist Party has certain goals, and it wants to reward those who are helping work with them and maybe not help out those who are working against them. Now, it's also important to point out that a lot of the way that this is being reported on in American media is somewhat questionable. There's a lot of people around the world who have a bone to pick with the Chinese Communist Party, and they say a lot of things that can't completely be verified. You know, if you go to Miami, there's a lot of Miami Cubans that'll say all kinds of things about Fidel Castro that then if you go and visit Cuba, they don't exactly add up. So not everything here can be completely confirmed. And obviously such a system would never be implemented here, but China has a different approach, and I think a lot of Chinese people actually support this move.
Steve, what do you want to say on that point?
Well, I was going to say it's a great analogy, but employers don't watch what you buy in the supermarket as you're putting things in your wagon or your cart and give you a score based on that and decide whether to hire you or fire you. They don't monitor who your friends are and who your friends' friends are and give you points as whether or not to hire or fire or keep you based on that. And that's what this system does. So it's hardly analogous to saying that the Chinese government is the employer and they have a right to do what our employers do. Our employers don't go that far, at least not to my knowledge, and I hope they never do.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate your time on this, and we'll continue the subject in the future. Caleb Maupin and Steve Malzberg. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Bart.